Iran. Reza Pahlavi must approach this battle with the discipline and precision Iran needs. Decisive internal uprising supported by external military and strategic partnerships, the regime is unlikely to fall. In analyzing the rise and fall of power in Iran, one can apply Sun Tzu's principles to understand the complex interplay of external and internal forces that have shaped Iran's political destiny. As Sun Tzu emphasized, understanding one's enemies and recognizing that every maneuver in war is a calculated choice provides the strategic insight necessary to succeed in battles of influence and control. This wisdom applies aptly to the history of Western involvement in Iran and the contemporary challenges facing Reza Pahlavi as he considers his potential role in Iran's future. On the role of the West, seizing and surrendering power. Appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend. March swiftly to places where you are not expected. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. The West's influence in bringing the Shah to power epitomizes this strategy of controlling the unanticipated. The Shah's ascent, backed by Western powers, reflects a calculated move to secure a sphere of influence within Iran, a strategically positioned nation rich in oil and regional importance. This support created the appearance of stability and modernity, a stance the West believed would secure Iran against communism and ensure access to resources. But power, according to Sun Tzu, is ephemeral if it does not consider the long game. The Shah's reign, once considered a bastion of Western-aligned progress, ultimately showed how flawed, overstretched ambition leads to instability. As his leadership waned, he appeared to lose touch with both his people and reality, a crucial misstep in the art of leadership. Sun Tzu warns against recklessness, which leads to destruction, and this precisely describes the Shah's deteriorating grip, marked by political repression and an unwillingness to address the unrest among his citizens. When the West eventually withdrew support, the Shah found himself isolated, a monarch without allies or army. Thus, the West orchestrated both his rise and fall, adjusting its tactics to shift its support elsewhere when the Shah's rule no longer served its interests. The arrival of Khomeini, using an opponent's blind spots. All warfare is based on deception. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Ayatollah Khomeini's rise illustrates the art of subverting an opponent by exploiting their vulnerabilities, or blind spots. Protected and even enabled by the French, presumably with the quiet encouragement of CIA and MI6 operatives, Khomeini presented an alternative to the Shah's failing rule. This alliance with a radical opposition figure is a classic maneuver in destabilizing an existing power structure to install a regime more likely to align with broader geopolitical strategies. Khomeini's presence in France provided him not only safety but a platform, allowing him to rally support and spread his ideological message far beyond Iran's borders. In Sun Tzu's terms, the West created a battlefield of influence in which Khomeini was prepared to fill the void left by the Shah. Deception, or sure, the art of positioning, positioned Khomeini as a sympathetic figure, despite the fact that his rule would ultimately prove to be as dogmatic and authoritarian as the regime he replaced. By the time the Iranian people realized the reality of Khomeini's governance, it was too late. The West had successfully manipulated the scene, demonstrating the principle of Shi, or the power of circumstances, to leverage Khomeini's movement against the Shah's weakened state. Reza Pahlavi, The Prospects of a Return. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. For Reza Pahlavi, the prospect of reclaiming leadership in Iran presents a monumental challenge, as he faces a regime that appears impervious to the notion of free elections. His prospects are, in many ways, hindered by the facade of democracy the current Iranian government maintains, which serves merely to uphold its own power structure. In this environment, Reza is unlikely to achieve any meaningful success through traditional democratic channels, which are manipulated by those already in power. Like in Venezuela, the ruling regime has established an iron grip on control, making any electoral victory an illusion. Here, Sun Tzu's insights on securing victory before engaging in battle come into play. For Reza Pahlavi to have any chance of effecting change, he must strategically cultivate alliances both within and outside Iran. Internal dissent is crucial, but he cannot depend on domestic forces alone. The Iranian regime is fortified, backed by institutions and armed groups loyal to its survival. Therefore, Reza would need the support of external allies, potentially including Israel, to mount a successful opposition. Without Israel's support, Iran may remain trapped under the current oppressive regime for another 100 years or more. Sun Tzu's principle of using alliances strategically and leveraging external strength would be essential for any success. Israel's intelligence capabilities, operational expertise, and regional positioning could help destabilize the current power structure in a way that internal forces alone cannot achieve. This external support may indeed be a fortunate advantage for Iranians in their pursuit of freedom from religious tyranny. Leveraging ethnic and regional dynamics, the Azerbaijani factor. In war, numbers alone confer no advantage. Do not advance relying on sheer military power. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Half of Iran's population comprises ethnic groups of Turkish origin, including a significant Azerbaijani population that holds unique pro-Turkey and pro-Israel sympathies. This demographic represents a critical point of leverage in destabilizing the Iranian regime from within, as Sun Tzu would recommend exploiting every division within the ranks of the opponent. By aligning with Azerbaijanis and other Turkic groups who already harbor cultural and political ties to Turkey and Israel, Reza Pahlavi could ignite a powerful internal force in the fight for regime change. This tactical alliance could be instrumental, as the Azerbaijani and Turkic populations hold substantial influence within Iran, both in numbers and in geographic significance, particularly near the borders. Aligning with Israel and Turkey in ways that support the Azerbaijani population's interests could help mobilize these groups in a united front against the regime. Sun Tzu's advice to avoid depending purely on military might and instead harness influence and alliances resonates here. A coalition of ethnic minorities, working in tandem with external allies, could provide the multidimensional pressure necessary to weaken the regime's control. Building strategic alliances with Russia and China. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Sun Tzu teaches the importance of understanding not only the enemy but the broader terrain. For Reza Pahlavi, navigating alliances with global powers like Russia and China could present both risk and opportunity. Traditionally wary of U.S. hegemony, both Russia and China may view a shift in Iran's power dynamics as a strategic advantage, particularly if it leads to a more balanced relationship with Iran's neighbors and its Western allies. A backdoor alliance with these nations could provide Reza with a counterbalance to Western influence while strengthening his position. However, Sun Tzu warns of the dangers of misalignment. For any alliance with Russia and China to be successful, Reza would need to ensure that it aligns with Iran's interests and would be viewed favorably by the Iranian populace. If these alliances appear to serve foreign powers more than Iran, they could undermine his credibility and alienate potential supporters. Therefore, any collaboration with these global players would have to be crafted as mutually beneficial, aiming for a new Iranian sovereignty rather than mere alignment with external agendas. Conclusion: the path forward. He who knows when he can fight and when he cannot will be victorious. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. The task facing Reza Pahlavi is formidable. The Iranian regime is entrenched, adept at deception, and fortified against foreign intervention. Without a decisive internal uprising supported by external military and strategic partnerships, the regime is unlikely to fall. Reza must approach this battle with the discipline and precision that Sun Tzu advocates. Knowing his strengths, recognizing his limitations, and selecting his allies wisely. In this context, Iranians are indeed fortunate to have the involvement of Israel in their struggle. Israel's support, if harnessed wisely, could be the pivotal force needed to weaken the regime's power and open pathways for meaningful change. Additionally, the Azerbaijani population, with its ties to Israel and Turkey, could provide a significant internal advantage if mobilized effectively. This demographic could play a crucial role in a tactical internal campaign to undermine the regime from within, creating both physical and ideological pressure points. Ultimately, Iran's fate may depend on a combination of external pressure, internal resistance, and an adept leader who can bridge the gap between national interests and global alliances. To move Iran towards a more stable and open future, Reza Pahlavi must employ Sun Tzu's teachings, focusing not only on the forces arrayed against him, but on how to position himself within the complex web of power. In this manner, He can maximize his potential to reclaim a place of influence and guide Iran towards a new chapter.